Hello, I'm Chris Williams, and I'm here with another review. Today we're going to be reviewing Symbiote Spider-Man, Issue 1. The cover was done by Graveland and Frank Diamatti. It's a good cover. It shows a Mysterio in the background with Spider-Man in the foreground, web swinging, in his black costume, of course. While the city itself is I guess it's covered in the mists that Mysterio uses when he appears in front of people when he's committing crimes. And the city itself is colored in the same kind of purple mist that he likes to use, or at least the city is covered in purple at least. Well, you see the mist rising around Mysterio. The sky is green, and all of it's really drawn well, and I really enjoy it. The first page is, they're just reprinting some artwork from Secret Wars, as well as the first appearance of the symbiote when he covered Spider-Man and became his new black and white costume. And of course, they list everyone who worked on this comic book. Peter David is the writer, Graveland is the penciler for the interior art, and Jay Liston is the inker. Well, here we start out with Mysterio. See, the story starts out later on in the story, but the comic opens when Mysterio has been punched out by Spider-Man. We see Mysterio on the ground while Spider-Man tells him to get up. The artwork here by Graveland is good. And with Mysterio's eye poking out from his cracked helmet. And the background looks pretty well drawn. Spider-Man in his black costume in all his glory tells Mysterio to get up. He refuses to punch someone when they're lying on the ground. And Greg Land's Spider-Man is good. I really like this costume. You love the black and white costume here because it makes him look so badass. And it just looks good. But I would say the white outline on Spider-Man sort of makes it look like he's not really part of the background or in that panel. It's like he's just superimposed. Here we start out with Mysterio in his civilian disguise talking to one of his old friends who works for, of all people, the Kingpin. The Kingpin is a real supervillain, his friend tells Mysterio, while all you go around doing is get punched by Spider-Man and try to rob banks. He said he's seen Kingpin kill people and not feel any regret over it. Well, this makes Mysterio fed up with his life. He decides to tell his friend he's going to hit this bank that has a bunch of gold in it, and once he does that, he could buy his own island. What he does is he gives this woman a box with a gas mask before he gasses the place, putting everyone to sleep. The woman, of course, reads the note he left behind, and she puts on the mask. And all she can do as she's breathing normally while everyone is falling down asleep, she's wondering what is going on. When suddenly, out of the green gas that had put everyone unconscious, Mysterio appears. He tells her to open up the bank vault. And they sort of exchange witty dialogue. And that woman, because that woman would be more often, I think, would be more scared if this were to happen in real life. Because real people are scared in being bank robberies. But I suppose being greeted by a guy who looks like he's wearing a green quilt for clothes. As I said, a green quilt for clothes. I think she'd be more scared than that, as maybe he's just insane. But he just uses her to open up the bank vault, and he says, perfect. When suddenly the security guard, who apparently had gone to the restroom, comes back. He tells Mysterio, too bad, your gas didn't affect me. I was out using the toilet. Mysterio, all he can do is look behind him, and he tells the guard to go and do it. And the guard fires, but apparently this was a hologram. Mysterio suddenly appears behind him, chopping him unconscious as soon as the guard fired. But soon tragedy strikes, because as soon as Mysterio looks back to his unwilling accomplice, he sees something that freezes his heart, and he realizes he's crossed the line. Because what has happened? Because that woman was directly behind him when the guard fired. He finds out that she's been shot. She says, "I don't feel good," before she falls forward onto the floor. Mysterio, well, he leaves. He doesn't even take any of the gold or any of the cash in the bank vault. All he knows is that he's crossed the line. He told his friend that he's killed lots of people. His friend doesn't really believe him. But here, this is the first life that Mysterio has ever been responsible for taking. And of course, we switch over to Spider-Man earlier than, well, dressed after this point. Spider-Man is trying to sleep, and apparently he's left his TV on, while J. Jonah Jameson continues to badmouth him with his symbiote costume sitting on a chair, pretending to actually be a non-symbiote costume and not actually the alien creature it is. Well, Joe Jonah Jameson ends up waking up Spider-Man, or it was just the perfect time because he got up at that point as the Black Cat, Felicia Harding, comes in through his window. They exchange strange banter, and she says that, yes, people might see me as a crazy woman entering your apartment through a window, but they'll see it as a beautiful crazy woman entering your apartment through your window. As she smiles at Peter, and she tells him she wants to spend the day with him. And she says to her, "That's good, because there's things I would like for you to see about my life." And of course, he tells her that it won't take long for me to get ready when he summons his costume to him. It slides up onto him and covering him in regular clothes. And all she can say is, "Holy God, is that thing alive? What is it?" He tells her, "Oh, this is the costume I got when I was on Battle World during Secret Wars." She says that "I'm pretty sure that thing is alive, Peter." And he continues to insist that it's just a non-sentient alien technology, that it's not possibly alive. And as they go on their date, he takes her to the cemetery. Why? Because he wants to show her his Uncle Ben's grave and how this changed his life and set him on the path he is to being Spider-Man. The one she wants to really be with. She wants him to be Spider-Man all the time, and he says he has to live his life. Well, as they're at the graveyard, he recognizes that he sees Mysterio visiting a grave, and later on, Spider-Man realizes after he researches a bit that grave was where a woman was killed in a bank robbery. So he puts two and two together, and he thinks Mysterio was responsible for her death. So he ends up coming up behind Mysterio after he tracks him down, and he ends up seeing Mysterio just has enough time to realize that Spider-Man is behind him in a mirror before he's driven to the ground. And Spider-Man accuses him that he's the one who was responsible for that woman's death. He says, "Admit it!" And he says, "Come on." Well, Mysterio is trying to think of something. He says, come up with something. And he says that she is his sister. And that are you going to arrest me for mourning my own dead sister? Well, I've got to tell you this much. If Spider-Man knows who Mysterio is in his civilian life, then how would he possibly... Why doesn't he know that woman who died was no way related to Mysterio? No adoption, no birth certificate. But Spider-Man believes him. He says he's sorry. But Mysterio isn't having nothing of it. And he says, "No, not yet you aren't. You're not sorry. But you will be." When he whips out a bomb trigger and he clicks the button and the entire place begins to go up. First a single explosion far into the warehouse. But then as Spider-Man finds his way out of the place, he leaps out through one of the windows and the entire place goes up. And all that can happen is that Mysterio watches Spider-Man as he's leaving. And Spider-Man, for some odd reason, can't sense danger. But danger as he reverts back to his civilian outfit. Mysterio doesn't know who he is still because he's only seeing him from behind. But he marvels at that costume. He wonders what it is. It could definitely set him up with enough money for life. So he comes up with a whole new game. He's going to get that costume. and he's going to kill Spider-Man while doing it. And this is how this issue ends. It's a good issue. Not a great issue. Peter David's art writing is good, but I could have wanted a bit more out of it. We see some good banner between Black Cat and Aunt May, and we see, but we can't. Are we supposed to really believe that Peter Parker, a genius, didn't realize the woman who died in that bank robbery is probably in no way and no how related to Mysterio? If he was good enough and that quick enough as he was tracking Mysterio back to his hideout, that she was killed in a bank robbery and they don't know who committed it, and he put two and two together that was probably Mysterio who committed it, why doesn't he realize that she's probably not related to him at all? Why did he believe a known criminal? This is just stupid and bad writing. Now, if you like this review, make sure subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed, hit that bell for notifications, and hit that like button. Also, leave some comments down below. And remember, keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book, Scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and that's it for today.